I'm just trying to get things set up so you can see what I'm doing. And I can see what I'm doing. And so on and so forth. Is that too high? I'll give it a couple of minutes and just see who's coming on board. Hey Cindy! Isn't it nice? It tells me who's watching. So, today, hopefully, I'm going to make a baby chimpanzee. I've only done it once before, and it wasn't the easiest thing that I've ever made, so it's generally going to be a bit of a challenge. And we're going to be here for a wee while. It's probably going to take an hour and a half at least, maybe 2. So feel free to go away and come back if you get bored. The video will be saved onto Pinch Potters once I've finished. So, you know, if it's too long, you can catch up with it later on. So come in, say hi, tell me where you're watching from, tell me what time of day it is there. It is 5:30 in the afternoon here. Our clocks went back last weekend, so for a few places I might be an hour earlier than what I used, or an hour later. Can't remember, no idea. Brain's not working very well today. I went shopping. I don't like going shopping. I made the other half do the actual shopping and I just sat in the car so I didn't have to go near anybody. So, baby chimp. Now, last one I made, which hopefully you saw a picture of, and that's why you're here today, was wearing a diaper. This wee guy, I'm hoping, is going to be sniffing a flower. I'm possibly not going to put a diaper on him. If you want to know how to do the diaper, I can kind of tell you about it. It's not difficult. It's basically a couple of coils, 4 coils and 2 little square bits. It's not exactly hard. Hey Sue! 11:25 a.m. in Wisconsin. I've been to Wisconsin once. I spent a year living in, most of a year living in Minnesota. So at the moment I'm just, probably a bit big. I'm prepping the chunks for the body, and I think they're a little bit on the big side. I don't want the chimp to be massive, so I'm going to cut a little bit off them just so we're not here all evening making a chimp. I'm hoping this one guy is going to be, I don't know, about 5 or 6 inches tall. You can make them bigger, you can make them smaller, but whichever way you make them, you're still going to make the, I'm still going to show you the way. Stop going on to pause. Ooh, where's Thirsk, Sharon? My geography's not great. So I'm going to pinch pot the body. So hopefully you've watched it before. I start in the middle when it's a kind of oval shape, and then I start pinching out until it's about, now this is where my measurements are rubbish. It's about, I don't know, 1.5 centimeters thick, something like that. This is going to be inside. Nobody's going to see it. You don't have to worry about it being perfect. Unless, actually, some people do like the insides to be as perfect. I saw a fantastic potter last year at the Scottish Potters Association. And he was from Syria. He was a fantastic potter. Lots of sculpting. He told us all about Egyptian paste. He did his PhD in Egyptian paste. So that's 1/2. Half an egg. There you go. We're going for eggs. Egg-shaped bodies. just to make life simple. Yeah, so he was telling us all about Egyptian paste and how to make it, and then he did some sculpting. And because he's spent a lot of time working with shards and bits of clay, ancient bits of clay, so that they could examine it and find out what was in the paste, he likes the inside of his pots to be as pretty and symmetrical as his outside, and that's never going to happen with mine. So there you go. Right, so are they roughly the same size? I think this one needs to be a bit bigger, so I'm just going to pinch him a little bit more, and then just elongate him a bit. I'm going to join them together, and I'm not overly going to worry about the joins or anything like that, because this is all going to be covered over with loads of texture, because he's a hairy chimp. Just tighten it up a little bit, and also my clay is quite soft, so so far I haven't got any cracks, but maybe it's just my clay. You do what's good for your clay. So if you need to put a little bit of slip and scoring when you join your pinch pots, you do that. This one seems to be fairly forgiving, so I don't really worry about it when I'm squidging it together. I'm just going to smooth over my joins. It's already bigger than the last one I made. Oh dear. And I'm going to squeeze the top in a little bit so he's more egg-shaped. Okay, that's kind of my chimp body. I don't do hyper realistic sculpting. My idea is that it's cute and it's quirky. Hi Carol. Hi Brenda. Hi Beth. Alright, so yeah, my stuff is quirky, and you should know by the time I'm finished that I've made a chimpanzee without it being anatomically correct all the way along. Alright, so my chimpanzee's legs and arms are quite long. I mean, they are quite long generally, so you know, the back half of the leg is about half the body, front half is about the same. So that's what I'm going to go for. So I'm going to make the legs, and I use the body that I've made to guide me on what size my legs are going to be. And my legs are coils, basically. So I'm going to...
I don't know that one.
Alexa, be quiet. I didn't even say her name. Did you hear that? I didn't say her name. No problem, Brenda. It will be up on Pinch Potters and Clay Coilers later on. So if that's about the size of my thigh, I think he's a bit thick for the size of the body, so I'm going to roll him a bit. Let's see. So if that's there, that's about 1 finger length for me, and that one's slightly too long because I want to make that one a little bit thinner. So let's have a look. About there. That's 1 finger length. So that bit is 1 finger length. So that's probably about that long, roughly. So I need to make another one about that size. Hello Heidi. Hello Jenny. Hello Connie. That's probably not enough clay. I'll bung that on there. Because, yeah, try and make it slightly symmetrical. But if this is not your first rodeo with me, you'll know that Caroline doesn't do symmetrical particularly well. It's probably not a bad size, so we need another chunk on the bottom. So, I'm also planning on doing a tutorial tomorrow. Oh, you're going to get spoilt this weekend. I'm going to do 2 tutorials over the weekend. Somebody asked for a sea turtle. So I'm like, oh, I've done one of those before. I'm sure I can do one of those again. So I'm going to do a second sea turtle. And I also try to make them roughly the same thickness. As you do. Roughly the same thickness. Alright, there we go. That's about right. I'm going to narrow him a little bit at the bottom. Now this guy a little bit at the bottom. Okay, so kind of halfway up, I'm going to pinch it a little bit. Oh, don't go away. Told my laptop it shouldn't switch off for 3 hours. Does it do as I tell it? No, it doesn't. And it's pain in the butt. Hold on, guys. It's got the picture of my chimp that I want to use because I don't have a printer. Of course I don't have a printer. What do you need printers for? Only to print out pictures of animals when you become a sculptor. But you know. Dear me. Oh, come on, I don't want. Right, okay, so basically pinching them in to make thigh and knee. I'm going to flatten the end a bit because that's the bit that's going to attach to the body. I'll flatten the end a bit, that's a bit going to attach to the body, and that's kind of two leggy things, but I'm not going to do anything with them yet. I'm going to leave them there. Because it's all quite damp, I want to make different parts of the body. Hi Mike! You're going to follow along this time. I'm going to make different parts of the body, and then I'm going to attach them when they've dried a bit. So a chimp has quite a human shaped foot. Now, I quite like the way I did my foot before. So, and he's also quite a long foot. So, alright, so that's going to be the start of my foot. Okay, I'm going to make another one of those. Hopefully around about the same size. I don't weigh anything, I don't measure anything, it's all done by eye, which is why I don't do symmetrical very well. So that's, you know, basically the feet. And then I'm going to attach quite long. So Mike's not joining in this time, but hopefully he will make a chimp though at some point. So I'm going to make quite long toes because they tend to have almost hands-like on their feet. So they have 5 fingers and a thumb, as far as I can tell from the pictures. Not that I've investigated it too much. So we're going to have a long middle finger and a smaller little finger. So yeah, they're a bit like human hands. Oh, computer's been a pain in the ass. Keeps on wanting to turn off. Okay, so that's your 5 fingers, and then a chunky short thumb. Okay, so I need 2 sets of that. Can we see them? Yeah, we can. Blunt them off, so that's that one. And these are just rolled coils. Just trying to get them roughly the same size. I'm going to do the basic chimp for you guys. I'm going to do a flower. I'm going to put them together. I'll probably show you a little bit of the texture, but then it's, if you want to do it, it's kind of up to you guys to go and do the extra bits, or we'd be here all night. I swear the last one took me about 3 hours to make, so yeah, we're not going to be doing that for that long. Yeah, it's about right. So, let's get my nice rough paintbrush, and remember that they're opposites, which I don't do very well, so I'm going to start attaching them, and then the second one I have to attach them the other way around. Okay, and then just a little bit on the side and attach the thumb so he's slightly further in, and then I do find that sometimes the tools work better on the fiddly bits. So underneath I'm going to make sure the clay is well attached to the fingers and the thumb. Okay. And then on top, I'm going to do a thin coil, and it's fairly wet, so I'm not going to overly worry about it. I'll have a little bit on there, and then a little bit around there. Okay. And these are going to kind of be the knuckles. So on one side, I'm going to clean off my thing, push them in, and then I'm going to push them into the fingers as well, and then do a little bit of, okay, so that's vague knuckles, and the same with the thumb, a vague kind of knuckle bit. Right, so, and then I'm going to curl them, because monkeys tend to have their feet curled. So, monkey paw, and you can put some kind of lines in it for where the knuckles would be. So I need to try and make 2 of those. So what do you think of the monkey foot? Yeah, so 1, I'm going to do exactly the same as the other one. I might flatten them a little bit and get a lot of stuff. So that's that foot. So I have to do it the opposite way. So little finger on there. Oh great, with spatial awareness, so quite often I get these things wrong. You're like, yeah, this guy's got 2 left feet, oops. So again, same thing. Let's get them attached. Vaguely on the top, because we're going to put coil in, and then pushing the bottom into where it should be. So there's a good attachment underneath. And I can go and clean these up afterwards. You can put pads in and things like that, foot pads if you want. But I don't overly worry about that. I assume that nobody's ever going to pick my statue up and look at the underneath. Yeah, they might, but I don't assume that. Right, so knuckles, the hand, a little one for the thumb. So push them into that, same on that side, and then into the hand on that side, and make sure that the distinction between the fingers is still there. A little press down. I haven't done the thumb properly. Okay. Alright, and then we do turning over a bit. Let's get a little bit. Okay, and then knuckles. Alright, so we've got a right foot and a left foot. Okay, so I'm now going to attach the legs and the feet in any position that you like. Okay, so I find the feet are fairly human-like, so I'm going to go for that. So, whereas the hands are a little bit different. So I'm going to score the bottom of that and attach it to the foot, just pinching and squidging, and then a bit of smoothing into each other. Around the other side. There's a little bit extra clay there that I don't want, and we'll put it in there. Okay, I say once he's all done, I will. So we have one monkey foot and leg. That one there. I'll do this one. Flatten the base a bit. And slip. And I say this is quite a rough paintbrush, so it does put a bit of texture on it, which is good. I'm going to attach that one there. Got to do it so the heel's sticking out just a little bit. And then smooth the front end. Sides. Okay, monkey foot number 2. Okay, so let's have a look at this. I think that's his belly. So that's... Hi Serena, I'm making a chimpanzee. So that's that side and that's that side. So how's my monkey here? So I'm going to get this into a little bit of a thigh. I'm going to water in. So this one is more bent than that. And he's kind of got his legs sitting out. I'm going on a picture which I will post later on so you can see why I did that. So I'm attaching it underneath. I have a bit of a wiggle. I'm going to support the leg and I'm going to smooth the thigh into the body. I might put a little bit more butt cheeks in later on, but that is... And a little bit on that side. Let's try and get it nice and well and truly joined, and a little bit on that side. Ooh, and this is where I get my tool in because I can get thinner. Okay, so that's one leg. And I'm going to do the other one. Now, oh, well, I've got 2 paintbrushes. I've got a thin one and my scory one. So that's the other side. So this leg is going to be much bent and kind of 2, and he's going to have his foot kind of like that. So that leg is kind of bent off to one side, resting on the ground. This leg is going to be up. So I'll show you from that side. Kind of attach it in and then smooth them. So I might have to, I'm going to lift them up a little bit. I'm supporting the far side. I'm just getting that thigh smoothed into the body. And then a little bit on here. And then holding it down. Right, I'm going to go underneath and do the inside with my tool. And I'm just pushing some of the clay from the leg into the body. And I'll tidy it up a little bit later on. So that's kind of the monkey shape that I'm wanting. Okay, we okay with that so far? We following along? Alright, now his ankle's looking a bit thick, so I'm going to do a bit of a squeeze just to thin down his ankle. It's going to make his leg a little bit longer, but that's okay. I'm going to thin it in, and I'm going to do the same with this guy. Okay, so that's his position to start off with. Right, arms. Now this bit can go a little bit further over that way because as long as the leg and the butt is sitting on the paper, then we're good. Okay, I'm just going to do a little bit of joining there, taking a little bit of the clay from the leg and pushing it into the body, but still keeping the definition of the body coming out like that. So, arms. I want to keep my shoulders quite a decent size because I thin it out and I kind of curve the shoulder around, so it's the bottom half of the arm that I'm going to, it's way too long. Let's go like that. So if that's there, that's about right actually. So what I do is I kind of thin out the top bit, and then that forms my shoulder. So is anybody planning to make a chimpanzee, or are you just watching this for fun? I think there's a lot of people not watching it. We had like 20 odd start off with, went down to 7. Obviously it's already taking too long. Alright, so another one, yep. So yeah, it's roughly about the same. So those are my upper arms. Okay, and I need more clay. This is going to happen. I always need more clay than what I think. So yeah, for anybody that's just joined us, we're making a chimpanzee. I hope you can hear me, because I can't hear me. We're making a chimpanzee, and he's going to be smelling a flower. So this is us just getting his body together first. My cutter. So I'm going to do his, oh that's quite soft. We're going to do his arms next, and we're going to attach the arms, hopefully. One of them's on the ground, the other one's in mid-air, so I might have to put something under the other one. So, and they're all made from coils, so that's his arm. Probably about that length. Yep. So I need another one about that size. And they are just coils. It's a bit thick. Okay. Alright. So, and then hands. The hands are quite a lot like the feet. I'll put these down to the side for the moment while I make my hands. So probably not as thick as the feet. Well, I don't mind, make mine as thick as the feet, but okay, so we need 2 of those. I'll make the hands very similar to the feet in the sense of put all the fingers on just like I did. So, little finger. Need 2 of those. Two little fingers. And then we need a second finger. Should be slightly longer. You see, I'll make 2 of those. Bit more clay. And then middle finger, I'm going to make a little bit longer. Probably not that much longer, but definitely longer. Okay, so we need 2 of those. And I do find that making these things at the same time will hopefully make them roughly the same. So that one needs to be about the same size as that previous one. Yep, so basically there's 4 of those. Okay, and then 2 chunky thumbs. Two chunky thumbs. Okay, and again you have to remember that the hands are opposite. So we have little finger on one end. Okay, and then we have second finger. finger. Alright, and then thumbs. A little bit of. So the first thumb will go on that side. So very much like long human hands, so they are. So the underneath I'm going to smooth bits of the clay into the hands but maintain the lines between the hands. Okay. And then on here I'm going to do what I did before, which is just a little soft coil, and these are going to form the knuckles. Getting lots of clay. Clay's quite soft. I just opened a new bag, so it's a bit on the soft side. Like that. Smooth it in. Put it back a little bit. Okay. So his hand. Now this is that one. So curly, proper curly, then fingers around, really curly, and then he has his thumb kind of inside. So that's his right hand, which is going to attach to his foot once I get there. So I'm going to leave it upside down like this. Now this hand is quite curled, so I'm going to start with it curled. I'm going to flatten that bit a bit. So it's going to go on that side, so my thumb has to be on this side. So I'm going to put my thumb on first so I know what I'm doing. So that's his thumb there. Okay. Get a slip in the scoring for the other fingers. So first finger, little finger, small finger. Okay. Right, underneath, let's push them all forward a little bit. That's where we make sure they're well attached. Okay. A little coil for the knuckle, and it goes over the join. Smooth into each finger. Damn computer switched off again. Okay, and then a little one for the thumb. Okay, so I'm going to pat it down a little bit, and then I'm going to go in and re-establish the bits between the fingers and smooth it a little bit. Now, sorry, I've got to put the computer back on again. One of these lights is a 100-watt bulb thing, and whoa, it's like, must be what like television presenters have under the lights. Absolutely roasting. I even turned my heater off, but it's still warm. There we go. Right, so this arm is kind of sat on the ground, so, or his hand is on the ground, so I'm going to slip and score the shoulder, and I'm going to attach his shoulder onto here, on the back. I'm going to put a neck on him afterwards, so around the back and all around, so he's attached. He then has a lower arm. Let's see. Right, so to attach, they seem to have a prominent back of the hand from what I can tell. So I'm going to thin this bit out and score it. And then I'm going to attach it to the hand like that, so there's an overlap, and then top part I'm going to push in like that, so you can see the back of the hand. I might narrow it a bit. Now his hand is probably a bit on the long side. Which part is too long? I think this bit is too long, because that in the picture is kind of just behind his knee, and that's probably a bit long, so I'm going to shorten that as well. How's that? So his hand is kind of more bent like that on the ground and attached there. I think so. So I'm going to kind of form the elbow, so I'm going to thin off that side and score it, because that's going to be the inner bit. Let's sit there for a minute. And then on the body I'm going to do the same with the upper arm. Thin it a bit, slip it, and then I'm going to kind of join them together. So I'm smoothing the back of it, and let's see, his knuckles are on the ground, so he's more like that. So I'm smoothing the top part into the bottom part, so you can't see a join there. I might bend it a little bit so he's a bit more like that, and then I'm going to take this bit and smooth in the front. Okay, so that's one arm. Just slightly bend him a little bit more. Okay, so size wise, still think he's a bit thick. Take a bit at the bottom. Let's see. Roughly. So again, smooth that bit in. Now, this is where I think I'm going to have to use a prop, because this hand is going to be sitting in midair. So I need something for it to lean on, so the weight of it doesn't pull it down. So that one is kind of out like that. Right, so score the shoulder, scoring a bit slip. I'm going to thin the elbow bit a bit. I'll slip that bit there. Okay, so that's that one there. I'll squeeze it onto the body, and then smooth part of the shoulder. It's a little bit prominent, so I'm going to push it in a little bit. A little bit underneath. It's well attached. A little bit on the front. Flatten this a little bit so it's not quite such prominent. And I might do a little bit under the arm, taking some of the arm and smoothing it into the body. And then use my finger to round it off a little bit. Right, so so I'm not going to smooth that out quite so much. So this bit is going to go up to his face, which is going to be about there. I think it's going to be a bit more like that. So I'm going to do the hand first. Let's smooth out the hand. If I don't put the hand on, it's going to be a pain in the neck. So his hand is going to join those two bits there. So thinned it, slip it, join the hand so the back of the hand is quite prominent, and then smooth the top part into the actual hand itself. Remember, you could be adding lots of texture to this because he's a hairy chimp, so you don't need to get it all nice and smooth. And then I'm just going to narrow the wrist a little bit. Okay, so that's his hand, and his hand on here is the really curly one, so I'm really going to curl it down, because the idea is that I'm going to put a flower in here. So I might need to prop up the front as well. So I'm going to squeeze those two together and smooth them in. I might take the prop out for a second so that I can do that underneath. A little bit of a pointy elbow. Prop on. And yep, I'm definitely putting one in the front as well. I'm going to put a little bit of tissue in between so it doesn't stick to the body. Just cover it all in it. So that is his front arm. Right. I'm just making sure that it's well joined, so I'm sliding a little bit of clay from the lower arm into the upper arm, so you can still see the elbow but not so much, so that it's all joined together. Okay, so there's our body. Ta-da! Don't need a head, do we? Quite alright with that? Just a body? Thanks, Sue. Yeah, fine, I'll do a head if you insist. A head's the fun part, which I took 2 attempts to get right last time. So first thing I'm going to start with is I'm going to start with a nice bulbous back of the head. So it might be too big. Well, we're not worried about that. So pinch pot bowl. Oh, this clay is so much softer than the stuff I started with. Let's hope it's okay and doesn't collapse. And the front bit. So he's going to have a pinch pot, double pinch pot bowl joined together, and then he's going to have a nose part joined on, and then I'm going to do the nose and the eyes and last the ears. Okay, so quite a prominent head. Thanks, Dee Dee. Are you following along okay? Am I going too fast? I'm terrible. I really just go at the pace that I go up. And this is how I do stuff when I'm making stuff. So if I'm going too fast, then I'm sorry. I can slow down. It's alright, Dee Dee. You'll be able to watch it later. So head. Oh, that's not bad. I'm going to put a bit of a neck on. That's quite alright for the back of the head. So the front of the head is just another pinch pot. Possibly too big. Let's see. Let me straighten it out. Where's the roundest part? Flatten it on one side a little bit so he's got an upward bit. And I think this is just a bit on the big side, so I'm going to take some of the clay away, roll it back up again, and do it so it's not quite as big. Basically just a bowl. Just a bowl. Okay, then I'm going to attach it. This is just to get the basic shape, and then you'll add all the extra bits, and all the extra bits will be the bits that make it look more monkey-like. Okay, let's see what I'm like for. I'm going to push it in a little bit more, so I'm forming a bit of a brow. See that shape? So that's a bit of a brow. And flatten that out a little bit. You'll get lips. Right, now I have a monkey face that I want to follow. Right, monkey face. So, monkey face. First thing I'm going to put in is the eyes. Put the eyes in first because that is, once I have the eyes in, I can then start building the rest of the face around the eyes. So, try and get two roughly the same size balls. Hi Beth, from Florida, or in Florida, might not be from Florida. I'm Caroline and I'm from Scotland and I live in Scotland and you're hearing this from Scotland. So, face. Now we have a nose in the middle, so the eyes are on either side of the nose. Roughly. And I'm going to put the round bits in and I twist them as I'm putting them in so that they seal themselves quite well. Monkey face. Right, underneath I'm going to put the lower lids in first. It's just a coil. And then I use my tool to push the bottom half of the lid into the face. Again with the other side. Bottom half of the lid into the face. Okay, so upper part of the eyes. He's got quite prominent brows. So I'm going to do a coil that's going to fit all the way around and down into the nose. Sort of like that. I think it needs an upper lid first. An upper lid? Yeah, I'm going to do a little upper lid first. This monkey's slightly different from my other one. So thin coil. I'll flatten it a little bit and I'm going to put an upper lid in like that. And then I'm just going to do just the very back because I want it quite prominent. Just the very back. Smoothing it into the eye. So a bit like that. Same with the other side. Thin coil from the front of the eye round the back. And then just this very back bit joined to the head. Okay, and then a little bit of slip. So I'm going to put that bit of the nose close to that bit and then this bit, and I put slip on because really with this I'm just going to push it into place. I don't want to doing a lot of slipping and scoring on that bit. And then I'm going to try and get a little bit of in there. So in like that, and like that, and then push in place. Okay, the nose is just one bit, so it's not a join, so just flatten out a little bit. It's very looking monkey, very monkey-like. Right, so his nose. His nose is a kind of vaguely heart-shaped thing. Or all my nose is vaguely heart-shaped? They might be. So, rounded at the top, slightly pointy at the bottom. Bit of slip. I'm going to join that part of it to the bottom of the nose and that bit to there. And again, we want to score it because we're not going to do very many pushing in the back bit. We're going to join together so you can't see the join. And then that bit we're going to flatten out a little bit. Okay, that's kind of his nose. Now, mouth. You've got a lot of the mouth already kind of developed, but you need kind of lips. So again, more coils. Now this guy has got quite a prominent stuck out lip. So I'm going to Yeah, how far around does he go? Probably about that far. So I've flattened the coil a little bit, and I'm going to join it to the face a bit like that. And we're going to smooth the edge into mouth. On the top side, smooth it out a little bit, and bottom half on the bottom side. Smooth it out a bit, and then kind of push the edges so they don't look like they're floating above. So that's his bottom lip, and his top lip, he's making a face. So I'm going to flatten it out a bit like that. I think I need a little bit on that side. It's not quite as long. Just join that in. Okay, so his top lip is a bit like that. And actually, his nose is a bit more. We'll pinch the end of his nose because I think his nose is too long. It's a bit better. And then his top lip is a bit, it's like he has a moustache. So I'm just going to put a little bit of slip on there, just a little bit. And then I'm going to join, so it's a bit like that. And I'm going to smooth, I'm not going to smooth the upper bit, I'm going to, lower bit, I'm going to smooth it up a bit into his mouth. I might need to put an extra coil in there, so he doesn't look like he's got such a dip between the lip. Yeah, so I'm going to put a little bit in here to fill it out, because he doesn't have a dip in there. Or not so much of a dip. Okay. And same on the other side. A little bit more. Looks a bit like a duck. But he's making a duck face. I'll show you the picture that I'm working from after, or the pictures that I'm working from afterwards, so you can see that he is doing a bit of a duck face. I agree. I work from pictures, just because my memory is so bad when I'm sculpting. I suddenly forget what an animal looks like, what the shape of their face is, all that kind of malarkey. Yeah, I think it's a little bit on that side to match them up. See, clay's nice and wet, so I don't have to worry about patching. Okay, and now I think this needs to go up just a little bit. And I'm just going to dig a little bit of the clay out of the back so it's not obvious that it's all whole. And if I pierce through to the back, that's not a problem. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not looking symmetrical again. I'm just flattening his lip a little bit. Smoothing out. Okay, so that's my monkey, and I think he needs a bit more of a chin, so he doesn't look quite so duck. So I'm going to add a bit of a chin, so a little bit of slip where I'm going to join it, attach it under there, and then just smooth it into place. And again with this side, smooth that side into the bottom lip. they do have quite prominent bottom jaws. Okay, so that's my monkey. His head's probably a bit big, but we won't worry about that. I'm going to leave him there just for a couple of minutes, and I'm going to make a flower. Mainly to allow him to dry just a little bit. Good. Yeah, nose a little bit heart shaped. Oh, actually, I'm going to put the holes in the nose while he's still quite wet. So I just use my tool, and it's a hole and then a little bit up to the top. So a hole and a little bit up to the top. Okay, so he's got nostrils. I'm going to sit him there. I'm going to make a flower. Now, I'm going to make a flower on here. I'm going to make a flower that's hopefully fairly robust. It's the thing I find about these things is that the more fragile you make something, the more likely it is to get knocked or fall apart or that kind of thing. So I try to make my stuff fairly robust so that if it does get knocked, hopefully it won't break. That's the idea. I do love things that have got sticky out bits and fancy bits and that sort of thing, but I look at them and I think, oh, my cats would just knock that off the shelf and it won't bounce. So, basic petals, very basic petals, which I'm then going to just put a little bit of slip on them because I'm going to start attaching them together. Alright. Overlap them in the hopes that they will support each other a little bit. Okay, and then just a round bit, a little bit of slip in there, push the round bit on, okay, pick it up, put some lines on it. And end of the paintbrush and texturize the middle. And then I'm going to put a little bit of the stem on the back because actually I'm going to put quite a chunky stem on the back. Oh, you've missed quite a bit, but it's going to be up on Pinch Potters, Elsa. I think it's Elsa, isn't it? So it's kind of go in there. So I'm going to smooth the stalk into the back of the flower. Then we're going to sit it aside. And we're going to add the head to the body. I'm just going to sit that there. So the flower's ready to go. Oops, didn't mean to switch that light off. There we go. I think he's standing up alright. Is he leaning any further forward than he was before? No, I think he's okay. Just put a bit under his bum, just in case he suddenly starts to fall over. Right, so we need to set his head so that he's looking down a little bit. So we're going to put a neck on him. Get you a little bit closer. There we go. Oh man. I'll bung a neck on. And the neck's a bit big, but I'm going to adjust it so that I can fit the head on the direction I want to fit the head on. Keep moving off the screen. Okay, so that's his neck to start off with. So it's definitely far too big. But he's going to be sniffing the flower, so he thinks to be pointing down a little bit. So I'm going to cut off the front bit of his neck. So his head's going to be like that. So I'm pushing and twisting. So the majority of the neck is just the bit on the back. So he's like that. Okay. So I'm going to push the back of the neck up into the back of the head. And also I quite often do a fat coil going around just for extra support. I'm not sure how thin monkeys' necks are. So he's going to have a fairly chunky neck. I love his duck face. He's got a fantastic duck face. Look at that duck face. Yeah, I think it definitely depends on where you live as to what clay. This is my favourite clay. And it's the cheapest clay I can find. It's really weird. And then, because I'm used to it, probably is why it's my favourite clay. So, this is me putting the fat coil in. It helps to support his head, gives him a chunkier neck, which I'm sure as a monkey probably has quite a chunky neck. And I'm just pushing it into place. There we go. I'm not overly worried about how leaving bits kind of sitting out, because once he's done, I'm going to go all over him completely with a tool like this. This is one of my favourite tools at the moment. And I'm going to add hair all over him. So at the same time it's digging out bits of clay, so my joins are not overly, as long as they're well attached. Right, so he needs some lines. Mine has very little grog. It does have grog in it, but very little grog. You only see the grog when you actually start to kind of smooth it over. So his face tends to be a little bit liney at the front, so I'm going to add a coil of clay, slightly flattened coil of clay and slightly wet coil of clay under there. Okay, and I'm squishing it into place and doing it so you can't really see the join at the front. And then what I'll do is I'll leave it to dry a little bit, and then I will score into it for the wrinkles around his eyes. So say on that side, probably doesn't need quite as much there. Push it into place. Out. Okay, so kind of okay. Flatten them a little bit. I don't want it to be obvious, but I don't want it to be sticking out hugely. And then it has a few kind of lines on his face where he's screwing his face up. Smooth that bit out. Still see the join. A bit like that. Okay. Well, that's kind of his face, apart from his ears. So let's get on to making ears. So monkeys have quite big ears, strangely enough. So try and get 2 balls round about the same size in the hopes that I'll get 2 ears round about the same size. Okay, that one is slightly smaller. Try it now. Yeah, that's about right. So tend to flatten one side first and then make the other side into a kind of bowl shape. And then that side I tend to flatten, and then the top flatten a bit, so you have that kind of shape. And then the other one's got to be opposite of that. I'll get them quite thin, roughly the same size. That one has to be the top, and that's a square. And you need to be slightly more bent. Okay, how are those? Roughly the same. And then they have some architecture in the ear. Thank you, Elsa. Oh, you can make this with raku clay without any problem at all. So, it has a kind of, the one I looked at has a kind of wishbone-y shape in his ear. So, that's one side, and then I'm going to smooth the edges into the ear. Same to that side, smooth the edges into the ear. On this bit you can make as lifelike as you want. It's entirely up to you. So the other side has, it's got a chunky bit at the end. So this needs to go from that outer edge bit to in here. So I make this a little bit longer. And I'll just use a little bit of slip so that I don't have to spend time getting it completely right. So that's kind of that part of the ear. I'm just smoothing it in. There's a little bit missing from there. Add a bit on there. Okay, so that's going to be one ear. I have to do the same on the other side, but the opposite way around. So use a little bit more clay. Okay, because it's got to go from there to there. Just get a little bit of slip in there. Okay, so that's the upper bit. So I'm going to smooth it. Okay, like that. And then we're going to do a lower bit. That thin. And I'm just curling the other end in for that part of the face. Face, ear, it's an ear, Caroline. And now I'm confused. Did I put it in the wrong place? I think, did I? No, it's like that. Oh, ear looks weird. Let's shape it right. So if it's opposite of that one, then that has to be the top line. That has to be the bottom. I think your bottom needs to be a little bit. Just put a little bit on there. I think I changed my ear around and I put it in the wrong place, but won't worry about that because it's not a bad shape. Okay, so, and I think that way So that's me taking a little bit of the clay from the coil, pushing it into the ear so that there's a smooth join all the way around and no sharp bits, and it will stay in place. Right, so that's kind of my ears. Now to decide where they go in the head. So I'm going to slip and score that bit. So then you're going to actually make a monkey. The ears are a bit far back, so I find somewhere where I think is fairly aesthetically pleasing, hold it in place, and then smooth this part of the ear onto the monkey. Okay, and then I get a coil, and my clay is soft, so I'm not using slip for this because I'm going to squish it in. So my coil is going to wrap all the way around the ear, and I've shown you this before, but I'll show you again if you've not seen one before. I put the coil all the way around, and then about halfway into the coil I use the top half to smooth into the ear, and then the bottom half I smooth into the head, and it gives support to my ear and hides join as well. Well, it does hide the join once you finish smoothing it into the right place. And same on the underside bit, and bottom half into the body, top half of the coil into the ear. And the front, sorry I have my hands in the way. Okay, and the bottom bit there. And you actually take any excess clay off, or you can just smooth it into your chimp. Okay, one ear. Now I'm going to just adjust the shape a little bit. Still think his head's too small compared to his eyes, and actually this coil is too fat. I'm going to take that off. Well, I'm not going to take it off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to smooth the back half of the coil into the head. Because that coil is fatter than the other side. Yeah, that's a bit better. Okay, same with the other ear. Oops. I'm going to slip and score the bit that's going to join to the head, and then I'm going to try and get them so that they sit in a similar place on the head so he's vaguely symmetrical, and then that part and that part I'll attach to the body. Okay. He's feeling a little bit fragile, so I'm going to start the coil on the underneath there just to give it a little support. And then, yeah, he was feeling like he might just drop off, so I've put the bottom half of the coil in and then the second half of the coil. Right, so again, half into ear, half into body. I'll take the front. take a little bit of, he's got a bit of cracking on the end, so I'm just going to add a little bit of moisture, give it a little bit of smooth over. Might crack again, but won't worry about it too much. Okay, so how are we doing? Right, monkey. Now this is where I have to try and match him up. I'm just gonna, one of my petals has a little bit of dodginess, so I'm just smoothing them in on the back a little bit to make sure they're joined well. I want to, now I might have to move his arm a little bit because, actually flower is going to be last, definitely going to be last. Texture. So I'm going to need to texture the inner part of him. He's kind of done. So texture. You can do this any way you want. You can do thin lines. You can do like that. But he does have texture all over his body. So, and his head, he had a kind of parting, and then the texture on either side of his head starts and goes from the parting. He doesn't have hair from the eyeballs round on the mouth, so your texturizing here kind of starts about there. Okay, and then once I've done the texture, I'll put some slip on the bottom of the flower, and I will bung the flower in the hand. I'm going to just lower it a little bit. And let's see, I think it's a bit big now. I'm going to put that under there to support the weight. And that's basically him done. All I've got to do is I've got to do the texture. So what do you think? The texture is really going to turn him. I mean, he's quite monkey-like, but it's the texture. Once you put, you know, the texture all over the foot and that sort of thing, then you're really going to see the monkey start coming out. And that's, I mean, this is how I texturize him. It's just lots of that. And then once he's fairly dry, I'll go over with a decent sized paintbrush and just take any bits off. So the texturizing takes a while, so I'm not going to bore you with that. Do you have any questions? Is there anything that I haven't shown you, or anything that you didn't get? Thank you, Charlene. I'm glad that you like him. And Sue and Elsa. He's turned out kind of cute. He needs his texture, but I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed that, and that you'll try making your own monkey. Thank you, Connie. Thank you, Dee Dee. Alright, I'm going to sign off for the day. As I say, I'm going to be back tomorrow. I'm going to be doing a sea turtle, which should be a shorter one, and once I've done all the texture on this guy, I'll post pictures up. I haven't decided how I'm going to do it. I'm probably going to underglaze him. It'll be posted up after I've signed off. No problem, Dee Dee. I hope that you give it a go and make your own one. Okay. Bye, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow, hopefully. Bye.